former director at Michael Page, then setting up his own incredibly successful international search and recruitment business, swiftly followed by setting up an investment business, swiftly followed after that by setting up his own laboratory accelerator. And hello, and thank you for joining me on the Practical Leadership Podcast. My name's Paul Morton. I'm your host. We try to distill the hard-earned wisdom of CEOs, executives, and high performers around the world into actionable insights that you can take away and put into your leadership practices really quickly. If it's time for you to look at your own management teams and help move them from being accidental into being intentional, then in 9 short weeks, the Practical Leadership Playbook course will help you do just that. Check out the Practical Leadership Academy. And now, on with the show. Joe Curtis, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Nice to see you. Cheers, Paul.
That was a fairly shorthand summary of the last, 10 years?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, I think you can do better.
10 years. 10 years since we left gainful employment and started out on our own. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, it has been indeed. Yeah. Thank you for the kind introduction.
So, can you expand on the key parts there?
Sure, I can. Yeah, it sounded a bit grand, really. So I'll maybe
try to big you up, you know.
Yeah. Thanks. So yeah, ex-recruiter turned recruitment investor basically is the strap line. So yes, spent a good 7-8 years at Michael Page, where we learned our trade and went out on our own to launch 3Search, which is a marketing recruitment company. And have subsequently invested in several other individuals to launch their own businesses under 11 Investments brand. 11 Investments is our recruitment incubator investment vehicle where we bring people into the same environment as us and we help them grow their own companies, all part of the same group. We share all sorts of things. Yeah, we share office space, we share clients, we share learnings, we share incentives, we share practices, salary bandings, everything, all that sort of thing. And then, the final business you mentioned is a business called Recruiter Labs, which is a business that supports standalone recruiters. So we provide all the back office required for people to go out on their own. We don't take any equity. We just take a revenue share on an ongoing basis for providing services and products to those individuals.
So you've got recruiters coming and going, basically.
That's right. I am heavily in recruitment. That's right.
This is about as heavy as you can get. So we talk about niching down. You're niching down and niching out, right? So you've gone into your original business is digital marketing. It's digital and marketing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And then obviously that was fairly successful. So you used that then to fund the investments in the other verticals, perhaps, and then used that learning to create something that you could envelope around other nascent businesses, presumably with a view to helping them grow to a point where they could become part of the party as well.
Maybe it's an option, but actually where the Recruiter Labs idea came from was me speaking to lots of people who either we didn't want to invest in, or we didn't want it in our environment, or they didn't want to be in our environment. Maybe they weren't in London, or they didn't want to be in an office, but I could see that they were going to be successful with the right provision or with the right services. And we had this successful, capable back office function. And so we plug those individuals into those services, providing their finance for them, their marketing setup, their website, their recruitment products, the services they would need, technology that they might need. So a CRM system,
all the good stuff. Okay.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, your businesses, the ones that you are directly responsible for, that you have grown since you left Mr. and Mrs. Page there, you've been busy hiring lots of people. Now, if among all businesses, I think recruitment can be quite high in terms of its turnover of staff. Right?
Right, yeah.
So you must have a non-stop insight into the practices of your practitioners. If you are continually recruiting for recruiters, how much of your day does that take up? How much of your week does that take up?
Well, it's my primary focus, really. We were We were lucky enough to happen upon three of us starting the first company. We were fortunate enough that we've all got quite different skill sets, quite different capabilities, and quite different appetite of the jobs we want to do. So we naturally fell into Charlie managing the people, Andy delivering on some work, and being a bit of a tactician and the guy behind the scenes in the back office. And I was, although to begin with, I did a bit of client winning, business development. Really, from the early days, my focus was hiring people for our business, and then subsequently finding people to invest in, and then subsequently finding people for those businesses. So yeah, an awful lot of my focus from day one has been getting the message of what we're building out to people who we might be interested in hiring. So I would meet up to 20 people a week who we might hire. That would be a busy week, but it's never less than sort of 6 or 7 week in, week out. So it's a big focus for us. It's so important for all businesses, in my opinion, hiring. And like you say, recruitment has got quite a reputation of quite high attrition because it's the job isn't for everybody. We kind of mitigate that by trying to keep hold of people for as long as possible. Our attrition is actually comparatively very low in the recruitment industry. So yeah, the job revolves around finding the best talent we can, engaging them, acquiring them, kind of onboarding them, and then keeping them for as long as possible, giving them the best experience that they possibly can, so that it's easier to then hire the next person because we've got a good reputation, a good presence digitally, good Glassdoor, good Google reviews, clients saying good things about us. So consultants want to come work with us because of the work we're doing with clients and customers. So we're kind of like, the aim is to have this kind of this rotation, this circle that kind of makes it easier and easier and easier to hire people. Hiring the first recruiter when it was 3 of us with no office was tough. And it's kind of, with the right actions, it kind of can or should get easier over time.
So if you're now recruiting the 101st person to come and join your team, because that's about the right size, you're about 100 folk?
Yeah, we're about that number now, yeah.
Very nice. And not that many years, really, when you think about it. Okay. I always like thinking that when you are the entrepreneur, when you are the business builder, and yes, you're building teams, you're driving revenue, you're satisfying customers, but you've also got on your shoulders, but also at your back, 100 people, and 100 people's families, and 100 people's pets, and 100 people's pals. So you've built something that supports the lives of many, many, many folk. It's always a thing to be reckoned with, I think. Yeah, responsibility.
Yeah, so, it is, and I think I look at that. But when I think about that, and it obviously makes me very proud. But it brings its challenges.
So talking to the founder of a successful recruitment business, who in turn spends a significant amount of his time. In fact, you just said it's a primary role of any manager, and I would agree with you. When I was leading teams, it was Friday. That was it. Friday, it was just recruitment. Didn't matter whether it was an upturn, downturn scale or not. Friday was networking, connecting, talking, interviewing, whatever it was. That was every single thing. Talking to you, looking at how you do what you do, I'm trying to find an analogy here. It's a bit like going to a surgeon and trying to find out how do you stay healthy. Well, that's probably not a very good analogy because they're some of the most unhealthy people you can imagine. But I'm trying to get into your head. How do you do what you do? Because you must, or at least you must aspire to be the archetypal, typical, highest performing organization you can be. Because you must eat your own dog food, or even better, drink your own champagne. You want to have, why would I go to a barber who had a bad haircut?
Yeah.
Right? Why would I go to a recruiter who couldn't recruit? Okay, you evidently can. How'd you do it? What's important? Where'd you start?
What in terms of how to hire people?
Well, give us a picture of your process there. So that, what do you go through? If it's not your secret sauce and you're willing to spill the beans.
So everything is all. I think everything speaks to everything else. So it's all encompassing. So you have to have a good, you have to build a good story. So yeah, and this can be. You don't have to be 100 people for this. You can be no hires yet. You know, I remember making our very first hires. Um, you know, we spent a lot of time. You know, we hired the first lady we hired was called Jasmine, and she doesn't work with us anymore. And then we hired two chaps, one called David, who we call Gaz, and one called Ollie. And this was in the start of 2015, and they're both still with us in senior important roles within the business. And we spent an awful lot of time at that period of time persuading these guys to join us, basically. So we spent a lot of time creating a vision and building this story of where we were going, not where we were, because where we were wasn't impressive, right? So where we were going, where the business was going, and the key roles they were going to play in, they could play as part of that journey. And it's really at that point, it's about telling the story of what these guys are buying into. And yeah, we were acutely aware that we were not a particularly attractive proposition at that time. We didn't have an office, or if we did, it was tiny with no furniture. And you know, we believed we were heading somewhere great, but in order to get there, you've got to persuade people that that's where you're going. So yeah, you've got to build this vision and this story for people to come along with you for the ride. And now that manifests itself in all different ways. Now, having a decent website and EVP and employer proposition, and we've won Sunday Times Best Place to Work that we entered a couple of years ago, and we've got a really good Glassdoor review. And as I've already said, our customers say very good things about us. We've got over 1,000 5-star Google reviews across the board. We're now through my business partner Andy is championing this, but we're now going really heavy in MPS, which isn't particularly prevalent in the recruitment industry, and we've just got research up to 70 plus MPS score. So all of these things help. I think having a good track record. You don't have a good track record to begin with, so you've got to build that story. Having a good track record, having lots of people who say nice things about you, whether it's people who still work there or don't work there anymore. We've got people involved in processes where if someone might want to speak to somebody who doesn't work there anymore to ask what it's like, we do that. We get people to meet a lot of people when they come and interview with us to make sure that we're right for them and they're right for us. A whole host of things go into powerful talent acquisition.
So you have to have a good story. You have to have something you can articulate who you are and where you're going.
Yeah, you have to believe where you're going. You have to have a compelling story to articulate, to give you the best shot of hiring the best people. I believe that, yeah.
I think when I help people who are coming into roles and you're trying, typically the company's been acquired. It's just the places that I work. They go in, somebody's been acquired, somebody goes in and their first job is to identify the talent and make them stay, right? Identify the talent, make them stay. Please don't leave, because otherwise we're kind of all screwed. So you identify the talent, and what do you say to them? Please stay. Yeah, that's going to help. The thing that I recommend people do is you find out from that person what they want, and then you articulate to them a plan, and you work on this plan for them to make the next 2 steps in their career. We'll get you to here, and we'll get you to there. Don't know how, don't know when, but this is a plan which is more than most people have. Most people live paycheck to paycheck, and if your boss suddenly comes in and says, well, I'm going to get you from here to here, and then I'm actually going to think about how do we get you from there to X, which is further. Wow, somebody really actually has listened and cares, and yes, I will now stay at least for the next year. Okay, so you're talking about articulating the vision of where you are and where you're going to go. That alone, I think, is a differentiator for most. So you're clear on that. You've got people coming in the door. We skipped a few here, okay? Clearing what it is you're trying to do. You then go where? Who are you looking for? How do you identify the sort of people you're looking for? What are the characteristics? How do you match that versus how do you find them out? How do you make sure you're getting the right person you're talking to?
They've got to be able to do the job that we want them to do, which is 90% of our employees are recruiters, so they've got to be able to do recruitment. They've got to want to do recruitment, which lots of people do recruitment and don't want to do recruitment. So they've got to be capable and willing. And then we also, beyond that, we then hire based on basically our 4 values, which are bravery, growth, kindness, and belonging. Now, belonging it's not really a value, I suppose, but we are so committed to creating an environment where everybody feels like they belong, because we think that's incredibly powerful, that it's listed in our values. So we want to make everybody feel like they belong. We want everybody to feel like they belong. We want all of our actions to make people feel like that, to be a very welcoming environment. And the other 3 are very, very important to us, important to how we operate and how we want everybody who we work with to operate. So if we feel that somebody's capable of doing the work, wants to do the work, and will operate in the way that we want, then we'll do everything we can to acquire that person. And usually, if they are the right people, then they usually want to work at our business, because we do operate relatively uniquely in the industry that we're in. I'm sure you're aware that recruitment as an industry has a reputation, somewhat justified, but less so these days, but somewhat justified as being kind of like a cold, hard sales floor environment where the people are only interested in the next deal and moving on, and would do whatever to make the next commission check, which we've never been on board with. Isn't really how we've ever operated, and thankfully the industry is changing a bit, but we're still at the kind of at one end of that spectrum in our industry. So usually the right people want to work with us. So we just need to meet enough of them. We need to get our message out to enough of those people. And we've got our talent director who works closely with me, Sarah, is fantastic at getting that message out and getting lots of people in through the doors for us to have conversations with.
So you're out there advertising that you exist. You do, I'm sure you do podcasts, you do marketing in some ways and shape and form to both attract customers and to attract talent. Somebody comes in your door. What's the first thing you do to say yes or no? Because you've got a fairly defined role that you're looking for. You're looking for a recruiter who can spend quite a lot of time researching and speaking to people. Yeah. How do you determine the fit for the role as a start?
So we hire. So we do hire based on role, but we also hire very opportunistically. We will also meet good recruiters and see if we can find a home for them within our environment. So our process at the moment is talent will speak to so Sarah will speak to the individual, and she'll perform an interview with that person, assessing their previous track record, and if she feels they're suitable as a general track record and environment fit for us, I will then meet everybody at the next stage, which is unique again for a business of our size, that one of the founders will meet all applicants at an early stage in the process. The reason for that is I think it creates huge buy-in, and I think that I want to be the person making the call on whether I commit further time from our sales managers, leaders, and other founders to whether they're spending time with people externally. The whole idea of what we're building is that we make it as easy as possible for the guys to make money, and that means I do a lot of filtering of that talent. So twofold: one, others don't spend time doing it, and two, I think it gives us the best shot of hiring somebody, or it gives us a really strong footing of hiring somebody we might want to hire if I'm there selling the business, selling the opportunity, and then assessing that person on that's really a kind of like a cultural fit, environment fit, values fit sort of level. And I don't have an exact science and process to talk to you about. I will just probe. I won't have a set pattern. I will just have a conversation with somebody. Depending on what they say to me, depending on what their answers are, I'll then ask them something else. I might probe a certain area, and I will get an understanding of you, a sense if I think they're the right sort of person for us. They'll then go in front of either our investment director or another founder, and that's where they get properly interviewed as to their track record. And at that stage, we'll make a call on where we want to hire them, and there might be another meeting after that for the again for them to meet more people, maybe to meet the manager they're going to work for if it's not one of the people they've already met already. We might get them in a social environment if we want to do more probing on how they interact with people. We might get them to meet several people, up to maybe 10 people, not 10 different stages, but we might get them to meet up to 10 people in a process. Because I think it's really important for that person to make the decision, and for yeah, that's really why we would want to do that, for them to meet so many people, is for the prospective candidate to decide that it's the right place for them to work. Because of lots of people, it's very difficult for these guys to know what things are really like when they get in the door of a company. And lots of people in the recruitment industry will describe the business they're hiring for in a very, very kind way that maybe isn't the truth when people land in the business. We want people to know exactly what our business is like before they start, because we don't want them joining and then realizing they bought into something that's not what they thought it was and leaving after 6 months. That's just a huge waste of everybody's time. But the industry is littered with operators who do that.
Sure.
Just focus on just acquiring the person and then worry about keeping them later. Whereas we're like, no, we want to make sure that we're all aligned and that you're going to stick around for 3, 5, however many years.
It speaks, I think, to either your experience, your intellect, or your ego, or all three of them, that you, the founder, have decided to stay at that stage in your process. Typically, when you're talking to any organization, they get to a point which is normally about, what, 4 to 5 million ARR, where the founder steps out of the sales process, because it's a pivot point. It's an intrinsic pivot point in the scaling journey, which is founder does all the selling. Then you have non-founder led sales. So you have like an innovative salesperson comes in, does the selling, and then founder steps back and does all the strategy stuff and that, which is the highest value things that somebody like you should be doing, right? But you've made the decision to stay embedded in this process where you're doing this filtering, which could be a fairly mid-role talent job, right? Somebody's got a sense of the business. Do they have one head or two? Okay, 2 heads out the door. So you're doing this filtering and you're still involved in this stage of the business. And you've obviously made the decision, because if you're doing this, you're not doing many other things. All right?
Yeah.
How did you come to the conclusion that you needed these people? If we're a people business, right? Of course you're a people business. You're a recruitment company. Of course you're a bloody people business. But the people that are doing the recruiting are the partners of the product being the individual that you are getting from market to job. And you have to find these partners who can prize them out of wherever they are, match them to the culture and position that the target company has, and carry them along in this journey. How did you make the decision to stay there and not back off and let your talent people do it?
Because I like it. I'm good at it. I'm perfectly comfortable that that's part of my skill set is recruiting for us. And I think it gives us the best chance of growing and hiring the best people. And that is, we're nothing without the people that we hire. Literally, there's no business, right? As you said, we don't have a product. Our product, we need to go and find our product every day, and the people we hire people to go and find that product and service our customers. So we are just the people that we hire, and it is in my view, my humble view, it's the most important thing we do is hiring talent for our business. Yeah, hopefully Charlie, my business partner, would tell you that the most important thing we do is managing the people that we hire and how we service our customers, and yeah, that's fine as well. But yeah, I think it's the most important thing. Maybe I would think that because that's what my day revolves around. But I'm perfectly comfortable in that. That's what I do, and yeah, enjoy it, and I'm good at it. Just to repeat myself.
Well, there you go. I think that's it. It's a recognition that it is the most important thing that you do, and it fits neatly within your skill set, and it makes you smile.
Yeah,
I mean, if you've hired somebody good and you're going, alright, she's good, I'll have her.
yeah.
Nice. That's a very nice confluence there. So I think there's the two, if I had to take away two things from the conversation we've just had, one is have this strong story of who you are and where you're going. But then the deeper part of the message you just made is recognizing that you've made a decision there to stay as the founder doing the selling. Because it's very easy a lot of the times for people, typically founders are either techs or they're sales or something. And if they're a tech, they hate selling, or if they're selling, they hate the tech. And you have to do both, right? So as soon as you can, you back the hell out of that role and you get some other bugger in to do the job, right? But the beauty I think that you've managed to find yourself is you're in this position where not only is your core skill set of vital nature to the business you've got, you like it. Yeah.
I have to say, I'm in this position. I have this luxury of doing what I want to do only because of the two business partners we started with, and that Charlie and Andy are also both very capable of doing the bits that they do and want to be doing that. So it is fortunate, and yeah, it's unrealistic probably for a single founder to spend as much time recruiting for their own team. But I just think that gave us a huge advantage and continues to do so.
Mm. Well, I think if you are the single founder or you're one of the other founders, they're doing their thing. You
Yeah,
are the single founder, and you can find that role where you can do something of high value that is intrinsic to the nature of your business, as you've found. That's a recipe for success, one would hope.
I hope so.
Is there one thing that you would like to share with the entire world? If I could give you 10,000 billboards after all your years of recruitment and life experience, 10,000 billboards, and you can paste one message on it, and we'll stick it up at every tube stop. And you're not allowed to use your website.
I don't know. I think doing business in a kind way is the right way to do business, and will pay back in dividends over time. I think it's net positive to try and operate in a considerate and kind way, and that's certainly what we try and do. I mean, some people have asked me iterations of that question before, I'm sure, and I don't think I've ever answered with that. So maybe that's just how I'm feeling today. But it's certainly how what we hold close to how we operate all the time.
I like it. I like it. I've had a variety of the answer, one of which was, don't be a jerk. On that, I will leave it here. Joe Curtis, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Cheers, Paul.